Hey everybody, it's Mia with TMBH, and today's Mindful Monday, March 19th, and we are going to talk about fentanyl. So we've spoken a little bit about fentanyl before, but I just kind of wanted to talk about it again because fentanyl is, it's a huge part of the opioid crisis. We really can't talk about the opioid crisis without talking about the influence of fentanyl. So obviously, when people think of opioids, obviously probably one of the first things that people think about is heroin, right? So fentanyl, I would say, is the cousin of heroin, except it's even more deadly than heroin is. I wish I had the picture for you guys, but I don't. But there was essentially this little picture of two vials, two small vials about yay high, right? And so for heroin, there had for it to be fatal, there was say this much heroin in there for it to be fatal. Whereas with fentanyl, it was literally this much, and that much was fatal. And that's kind of how that just was a really big eye opener, at least for me, because I thought heroin was dangerous. If you asked me what the most dangerous drug was, prior to really getting to know fentanyl, which I would say was working at a rehab facility, I really learned about fentanyl. I would have thought that I would probably say heroin and crack cocaine being some the most serious drugs that I know of. But fentanyl is even deadlier than heroin, and it's about 100 times more potent than morphine. I believe it can actually be at times even higher than 100 times more potent than morphine. So it's a very strong substance. So fentanyl is what they classify as a Schedule II drug. In America, there are different classifications for drugs, and they kind of I believe it's the FDA who determines it, but it just determines how, useful? Yeah. How useful the drug is, whether or not it has any medical benefits, whether or not it's a drug that is just honestly, there's no purpose for it. So for example, with fentanyl Schedule II, because it does have a medical purpose. It is known as a pain reliever, like other opioids. It's a pain reliever, and it can be great for helping people with pain when you're dealing with chronic illnesses, I believe you say a chronic condition such as cancer or something where you're just dealing with a lot of pain. So I don't know if they use it for HIV/AIDS, but I guess if that could be a possibility if you were going through a particularly painful time with that, then yeah, that would be beneficial in that case. So it does have a medical use. But the reason that it's Schedule II is because Schedule I drugs are drugs with absolutely no medical purpose, they're just banned, it's horrible, that's Schedule I's horrible, they say. So Schedule II is yeah, you're horrible, but you have some positive, some ways that we can utilize you. So that's why fentanyl is around. So people will take the little patches, because fentanyl has become so dangerous that even when they give it to people for medical use, they give it to them in patches because it's just so strong. They try to give it to you in a form that makes it the hardest for you to take it and abuse it. And still people find ways to even get high off of the fentanyl, the patches. I don't really know how to do it. I don't feel that's what we should be talking about. This is not a how to use fentanyl video. But yeah, fentanyl is pretty dangerous, y'all. So what else should I say about fentanyl, the cousin of heroin? I would also probably add that, this is really important. Fentanyl is really dangerous too, because it's not like other drugs where if you have somebody in your household who is using fentanyl or using another drug that's cut with fentanyl, fentanyl is so dangerous that if you touch it, you could die. There was a police officer who was patting somebody down. That person had fentanyl on them. The cop didn't have gloves on. They touched it and died of an OD. So if you have a loved one who's using fentanyl, or you're using fentanyl or drugs laced with fentanyl, and say you have a child in the house or just another person in general who's not doing drugs and not willingly putting themselves at risk, imagine if they picked up or touched something that you had or that your loved one had that had fentanyl in or on it, whatever, and they OD'd from that. That would be horrible, And so it's just one of those things where it's really important to try to get fentanyl off of the streets, trying to get fentanyl to a place where it's only used when medically appropriate, and it's only used under doctor supervision. So yeah, that's pretty much it for our little intro to fentanyl and just about fentanyl. There is some content that comes with this that you guys can check out. That comes with our, not this post. So when I tell you guys to check out our other post, which is not this post, this is the live post, we have another post, the morning post, and that's kind of related to this. That one's going to go into some more detail about fentanyl for you. It gives you some signs to look for in somebody who might be abusing fentanyl. So you should check that video out. Like I said, it's our morning video. Other than that, I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day. And yeah, I will see you guys tomorrow on Tuesday when we talk about something else.